If you feel responsible for everyone's emotions, if you struggle to say no, if you apologize even when you didn't do anything wrong, or if you feel anxious when someone around you is upset, you may be experiencing something called the fawn response. This is not the same as being too nice, and it has nothing to do with your personality being weak. Fawning is actually something your nervous system learned a long time ago, often in childhood, when pleasing others was the safest thing you could do. Today, we're going to gently explore what the fawn response really is, why it shows up even in your adult relationships, and how you can begin healing so that you stop absorbing everyone else's emotions as if they were your own. Let's start from the beginning. Most people have heard of fight, flight, and freeze. But there is a fourth trauma response that rarely gets talked about. Fawn. Fawning means you try to keep the peace at all costs. You regulate other people's emotions instead of your own. You make yourself easy to avoid conflict. You change your behavior so others won't get angry or disappointed. It is an automatic survival response, not a conscious choice. Your nervous system learned that. If everyone is okay, then I'm safe. So without even thinking about it, you smooth over tension, agree to things you don't want, downplay your needs, become hyper-aware of others' moods, take responsibility for emotional outcomes that aren't yours to carry. This isn't weakness. This is intelligence in the face of fear. Your body learned a strategy that once kept you safe. Where the fawn response comes from. Fawning doesn't appear randomly. It develops in environments where being yourself wasn't safe. This might include growing up around unpredictable adults. If anger, conflict, or emotional outbursts were common, you learned to stay small, agreeable, and invisible. Household dynamics where keeping the peace was your job. You might have been the child who fixed arguments, softened tension, or soothed adults who were overwhelmed. Being punished or shamed for expressing needs. If saying no, showing anger, or setting boundaries led to rejection or punishment, your system learned that your needs create danger. Emotional parentification. You may have been responsible for comforting a parent emotionally or making sure everyone else felt stable, even though you were still a child. When a child faces environments like these, their nervous system adapts. If I make everyone else feel okay, maybe they won't hurt me, maybe they won't leave, maybe everything will stay calm. So your body chooses fawning as a survival strategy, not because you are weak, but because you are incredibly adaptive. How the fawn response shows up in adult life. The hardest part is that this pattern doesn't go away on its own. It follows you into adulthood, especially your closest relationships. Here are the most common ways it shows up today. You feel responsible for everyone's mood. If someone is unhappy, angry, or stressed, you feel anxious until they are okay again. You apologize constantly, even for things that aren't your fault, or for simply existing. You avoid conflict at all costs. Even small disagreements feel dangerous to your body. You say yes when you desperately want to say no. Your mouth agrees, but your stomach tightens because saying no feels unsafe. You lose track of your own preferences. What do you want? Is a question that feels confusing because you've spent most of your life adapting to others. You over-explain to avoid disappointment. You give long explanations so no one thinks you're rude, selfish, or difficult. You take emotional responsibility for others. You feel like you must fix their sadness, calm their anger, or absorb their tension. All of this comes from the same place. Your body learned that other people's emotions were a threat. So now, keeping them stable feels like your job. But it's not your job. And it never was. Why the fawn response is not your fault. This is important. The fawn response is not something you chose. It is something your nervous system created for survival. Think of it as an emotional reflex, like blinking when something flies toward your face. You don't choose it. Your body just protects you automatically. Similarly, you soften your tone, you become agreeable, you avoid upsetting others, you anticipate their needs, you shrink your own needs, because your nervous system still thinks it's protecting you. You did not become a people pleaser. You became someone who survived by pleasing people. that deserves compassion, not shame. How to begin healing the fawn response. Healing fawn response isn't about forcing yourself to just say no or stop caring so much. It's about teaching your nervous system that I'm safe, even if someone else is not happy. Here are gentle ways to begin. 1. Start noticing when you're fawning. Awareness is the first step. You may feel it as tightness in the chest, fear of disappointing someone, pressure to fix things, urge to apologize instantly. Just noticing it, without judgment, begins the healing. 2. Practice micro boundaries. You don't have to make big changes. Start with something tiny, like, I need a minute to think. Let me get back to you. I'm not sure yet. These small pauses retrain your system. 3. Validate your own emotions before others. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? This reconnects you to parts of yourself you had to disconnect from. 4. Let discomfort exist. Setting boundaries or disappointing someone feels unsafe at first. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your nervous system is healing. Discomfort is not danger. It is growth. 5. Surround yourself with people who don't punish boundaries. Healing becomes faster when you experience relationships where no is respected, needs are mutual, conflict doesn't mean rejection, your worth isn't attached to compliance. These relationships help rewrite the old survival pattern. 6. Tell yourself the truth your childhood never gave you. I am not responsible for other people's emotions. My needs matter. I don't have to earn safety by pleasing others. I can be myself and still be loved. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, you're not dramatic, weak, or too nice. You are someone who learned to survive in an environment where your safest option was to take care of everyone else. But you are not there anymore. Your life is different now, and your nervous system can learn a new way of being, one where you feel safe, even when someone else is upset, one where your needs matter just as much as theirs, and one where connection doesn't come at the cost of losing yourself. You don't have to fawn your way through life anymore. You get to exist as you, and that is enough.